Yeah, I don't know that I can really quantify, in words, kind of how we all felt about it. I'm sure everybody's got their own take on it, but for us in this building and people that were on the plane ride back Saturday, I think it was again very hard for us to put in words how big that win is. To us here at Liberty and on the mountain. I think it's, probably be hard to argue that it's not the biggest win in school history. I mean, you're not talking about an SEC team that is not having a winning record, and they're going to win some more games, I believe. And what we did on that day outside the fourth quarter, I thought we were the better team for three quarters. Now, the fourth quarter, their size and their depth and all of that, it wore on us, and you could see it in our tackling. We tackled the pours we have all year. But I think, again, you're playing a roster that's different than yours, and I said that. And, it starts to show when you get late in the game, and it did. But, again, the grit of our football team and the belief, the faith they have in each other, and the way the staff, I know, is just we're so, I don't know, it's just a really good chemistry and culture for our staff, and nobody really has egos. When we do, that's not the truth. I've never met a coach that doesn't have an ego, or we all have them, but we're all willing to check them for the betterment of the good. So to go to an SEC stadium, particularly one I've never had any success at, period, and I've had some good teams that we took in there, we're not into the NIL money like that conference is, and yet found a way to get it done. So I think it's I think it's a huge win, and obviously, so what have you done for me lately, world? And we'll have to fight and guard against coming off two huge emotional wins over BYU and Arkansas. You better get your mind right and get back to work, because we're going to play a very, very, very hungry football team that's extremely well coached and believing right now that they can become bowl eligible in year one. It reminds me of us here in year one. And I'm very impressed with the job that Coach Moore has done. And I was really, really clear with our team this morning of that, and even met with the Culture Council after that to stress to them every game counts the same. That one may feel different, but they all count the same. And you like your standing and being ranked in the top 20, great. I do too. I love it. It's fleeting if you don't prepare well and play well. So anyway, I'm going on a tangent. It was a huge win. I don't think I can quantify it in words. Big win. I think probably the biggest in school history, and obviously we're thrilled to do it, and do it with so many injuries, losing Day, and it was a total team effort, and very, very thankful and grateful. God has blessed us this year for sure.
How much fun is it to come in here week after week, and it's like almost you're going, this was the biggest win, and then the next week, this is the biggest win, and this is the first time we've done this, and it seems like year after year, there's something else.
Well, we've had 4 years of a lot of first. I've said I really enjoy doing things that are first for programs, and we've done a lot of those, and hopefully we don't run out. I'm not sure, what's all next, but I do know conference championship can be a first for football in FBS for us. So I've got kind of my eyes set on that being the first to do that. I would like to do that. I'd like to see these playoffs expand and see what's the road. Can we get in that somehow? And hopefully we'll get a first tomorrow night, and hope y'all can send this to what's it called, the CFP football committee. I don't know. I think our non-Power 5 resume is better than any of the Group of 5. I don't know all the rules and stuff on that, but we've played 3 Power 5 teams, lost one at their place by 1 point, and have won the other 2. And I don't know, again, what we'll do the rest of the season, but for this given week, how we're not talked about as being one of those Group of 5, non-Power 5 teams that's at least in the discussion of whatever that means. I don't know. I don't understand that. If it, hopefully that'll change, and that'll be a first tomorrow night that we get to see maybe our name up there. That'd be nice. So anyway, there's a lot of firsts, and we still have some that we have our eyes on.
I wanted to ask you about.
It's a lot better than the alternative. Coming in here and talking about, man, we lost another tough one. I've been on that road too now.
I wanted to ask you about Uconn. It seemed like after their bye week, got healthy, particularly on defense. They've only allowed 13 points against Boston College and UMass. And what have you seen on their defensive side that it seems like they're playing much better?
I'm impressed. Like I said, I think that Boston College just scored a bunch of points last week on another Power 5 opponent. I can't remember who. I watched some of it. It must have been one of the weeknight games. But for them to hold them to their season low, I believe, and then shut out. Held UMass, so they've given up like 13 points. I think they're playing at a high level right now. And it's not the same team that started the year, and they've done a really nice job. And I think we're going to be really shorthanded headed up there, and it's got my full attention, and hopefully it has our players also.
What did the MRI say for data?
It's today at later this afternoon.
A game like that, the level of physicality, you see it on the field against Arkansas. Any concern that you talk about the guys that are injured, but just the wear and tear of a game like that affecting you differently throughout a week?
Yeah, we're at the end of the season, and everybody's got wear and tear naturally. And then you look at us, who's had BYU and Arkansas, and already are a little thin at a few spots. We changed this week's schedule a little bit to try to make sure we did not go on the field today, which is not normal. And so, they had yesterday and today really off to hopefully get those guys. You've got the injured crew that obviously it is what it is, but then you got the others that I'm going to play, but boy, I really could use a little recovery time, and we're trying to balance that the best you can and get prepared.
How do you think Caleb Snead performed the first time since playing?
Not bad. He, I think this will be a big week for him to hopefully. We really only asked him to handle one personnel grouping when we were in 12 personnel, and hopefully now this week he can get back to running with both 12 and 11 and our posse personnel and the rest of those. So hopefully he can get back in the flow of the whole thing.
Let's go online. I got a few there. We'll start with John, and then we'll go to Hank after that.
Hey, Coach. Jonathan Bennett, 5-0 as a starter now. Picked up 2 huge wins. BYU and Arkansas's last 2 days out. I know a couple weeks ago you were talking about, you bring Charlie back when he's ready to go. But, is JB your guy going forward?
I thought about that this morning when I woke up, and it's going to be hard for me to not have JB as a part of it, and hopefully we'll get Caden back also. So we'll be blessed to have all 3, and we'll see how they perform in practice, and which one gives us the best chance to win. Might use a few of them. I think all of them have checked their egos at the door too, and but I'd like to take this time just to congratulate JB on persevering and going through the disappointments and the tough times, and not playing particularly well for a lot of the snaps that he had, and now, man, he's playing a lot more free. He's accepting my coaching, and even when he doesn't, particularly like my motion with it or something during the game. That was the old JB. Now he's like, yeah, I know. And because truthfully, I mean, he missed 4 things this past Saturday that would have been game changing. It would have changed the game, all in the RPO world, and that's just, he should get those right. So, in film this morning, we praised him, but also said, "My dude, what are you doing right here?" I mean, there's one we had the perfect call on, and if he throws it to DeMario, it's a touchdown on that 4th and 2 drive that we didn't get. I mean, DeMario walks in the end zone if he reads the RPO correctly, and those are still very, very frustrating to me that we're missing those. On the other side, you give him credit, man. He made some great throws at times that to places that they needed to be, and got us to lead. And the guy's 5-0 as a starter, and probably has the 2 biggest wins in school history. So, I mean, that's the way it's been. So. JB will definitely be in the rotation moving forward in practice, and we'll go from practice to the games accordingly.
Hey, Coach, good to see you.
You too.
You talked about all the firsts.
Took us beating the SEC school to get you back on here.
Well, we could talk about that later. With all the firsts you talked about and the talent disparity, which you've kind of cited that all 4 years. How much do you guys feel like you're almost a Power 5 school because you've had really good success at that level?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's a lot of aspects of our program that are the commitment level from our administration, the commitment to our facilities, and to our staff, I think is Power 5-ish for sure. The roster's not quite there, so I don't know. I think the tough test would be if we had to do that every week, where we would be in respect to that. But at the same time, Hank, if we had to do that every week because we were in the Power 5, then we would be recruiting probably a few different kids here and there, which would give us a fighting chance for the physical demands that would be on that from week in, week out. So it's kind of a hard question to answer. Obviously, heck, and we've played the ACC, and the games we've lost in it have been very, very marginal. So that's hard for me to answer how the consistency would measure up if you were having to do that week in, week out right now. But we certainly have found a way to compete with those schools in the Power 5.
And when you look back with every team being different, every season being different, you guys played Wake Forest when they were setting the world on fire and almost beat them. How much did that maybe make believers that you guys could compete at that level with your team?
I think the belief has been growing since we've been here, based on how we go about preparing and how we go about coaching our kids and how we go about building culture. And I just think all of that's been growing, and obviously 3 straight bowl wins and winning a few Power 5s along the way and being in the other games that we played. Even at Ole Miss last year, right in that game, deep in the second half. And so I think all of those experiences grow, and then when you start building a new program, a new team for the new year like this year, you take those experiences with those that have played them, and then hopefully this culture will even get better within the team. And I think we just have a really good chemistry and culture with this group and their grit has shown over and over again to be able to compete and win games. So all of that combines to go into the belief that you can walk into a place like Razorback Stadium and play in front of 78,000 or whatever it was and compete.
Let's go to David.
Hugh, David Teal with the Richmond Times-Dispatch. You lead the nation in tackles for loss and sacks. But as you prepared for Arkansas, did you think you could go down there and keep up that pace, which you did?
We were pretty dang dominant for 3 quarters. I would guess that 50% of their yards came in the fourth quarter. That's a guess. Don't quote me on that. You'd have to check me, but I would guess that. And I think there's no secret. Our defensive unit has been the most consistent on our squad this year, and I've said since I got here that my belief is that we have to build this around defense and quarterback play, and we've tried to do that, and I think this has been our best defensive unit in our 4 years here, and we were pretty good the last 2 years, but I think this year is our best unit, and I think the stats back that up. And I think we held them to their lowest per yard carry of the year.
Yeah, like 3.4.
And I think we are one of only 2 teams to hold them under 200 yards rushing a game, and that other being Alabama. That's pretty good company.
How interrelated is leading the nation in sacks and also picking off 13 passes?
Very related. I think we get some. If you're crushing the pocket some, you're getting some tips that creates some of that, and then obviously the hurried pressures are going to create some quarterbacks to make errant throws. So I think all of that is important, and that and our tackles for loss that put them behind the chains that create different throws that you have to make. It's a lot more comfortable making a 3rd and 5 throw or a 3rd and 3 throw and getting it out a little quicker than it is those 3rd and 10s, and we've been able to put teams in a lot of those scenarios.
Let's go to Ed online.
Hugh, from just a schematic standpoint with Uconn, is that what's got your attention the most? Is it just the record and what Jim Mora Jr. has been able to do in his first year there? What are things that have jumped out to you that you're emphasizing to your team and your staff and game planning for them?
Well, we hadn't, Monday for us is just with our players is about the truth of the game, and then an introduction to what we think we're facing this week. And then we usually go out on the field and kind of get a jump start. We didn't do that today so we haven't really talked to our kids a lot about that. And to me, it's more just the way they're competing. Schematically they're good and they're sound, and they've had to find ways offensively with some of their injuries to try to maneuver around and score enough points to win games. Defensively, they're playing at a very, very high level, so that's concerning to me because I still can't get out of my mind some of our inconsistencies that can lead us to all of a sudden being in games that are very, very tight. Even when our defense is playing well. And so when you see that they're playing at a high level on defense under Coach Moore, and he's got a veteran DC in Spanos, and I just, it's concerning to me. And coming off, obviously, a big win. And I know there's still young men in that room that mentally, everything's a challenge, both your successes and your failures. And so how do we handle success? That's going to be a great test for us this week.
Anyone else in the room?
Anybody else online? Any further questions? All right, Coach.
I think there's a question.
Ed, did you have another one, or are you good? Oh, no, Hank, I'm sorry. Hank, go
Hank?
ahead.
Yeah, just a fun one. Did you get to watch any of Malik last night?
Man, I did until my bedtime's like 8:30, and man, I tried my best I did see him throw what I thought were two beautiful passes in one-on-one coverage that they weren't complete, but I thought they were really, really good balls. And I did not get to see the second half, so obviously they were in the game, but hopefully he'll continue to improve week to week.